Alrighty. Rookies, what's good? Think we are live. Think we are ready to go. If you are in here, say g'day. Let me know everything looks good, sounds good. It's probably going to be the best thing that sounds or looks good this whole stream because there's going to be a lot of trade talks that happen tonight. A lot of things coming underway. So, by all means, let's get started because there's a lot of considerations to make this week. I mean, a lot. There are Connor O'Sullivan. There is Dale. There is getting rid of Perryman. Do it. I don't want to talk about this, man, because I'm still unsure on what we want to do. What I want to do. If you don't have Stewart, you played me. You got me good. Praise Fit. How you going, mate? Thank you for being here. This is probably going to be the first solo stream. The one on the weekend was meant to be solo, but good old Brad decided to join us in a late night hours stream. Absolutely ridiculous. But to get back to Stewart, there's going to be a fair bit of discussion around Stewart, I imagine, because I own him. He is as much as a test for this week, which I hope he does play because I need him to. But if he only misses 1 week, then I feel like I have to hold, which is scary. Because there could be, he could become Dale, then Perryman could become like Messiah. I'm just not really sure. And do I hold on to Gawn? Like what? There's so many things. A lot of people are doing different takes on how they move with their trades. Like there's a lot of different things happening. How much are you weighing up future DPP? Do you think Nick Martin is a good get just banked on that? Or should we get Clark? That's a great question. We've now had some hints thanks to, I think Tim Mitchell posted it earlier today on Twitter, where we kind of get some inklings as to who's getting DPP, and Nick Martin is one of them, Cheese. So do we bring in people purely not for what they're currently doing, but for that future DPP prospect? Potentially. I think if you started them, it's definitely a hold, but do you trade into them? That's a really good question. For Nick Martin, I'm not 100% confident in that, but maybe for like a Petrarca, if he gets there, then yes. I think it's really dependent on a player. For the back line, if you're bringing in a Nick Martin to then swing him forward, I think there's probably a higher cost because the back line is where we can't really have, say, a weak link. Like we can see here that Perryman, I can't even see. I'll share my screen shortly. But for example, I have Perryman still. There was a horrible hold, did not work out, but I need to get rid of him this week. Do I get like a Nick Martin in, for example, with full intentions of swinging him forward instead of a Baz maybe, because I'm not sold on Baz potentially? Or as you said, Cheese, do I go for like a Clark? I'm definitely going for like a Clark in this instance, just because one, the role is there. It looks great. Probably got a more consistent scoring output. Whereas Nick Martin, he's all over the shop at Essendon at the moment, if we're just looking at that reference. So definitely worth considering DPP for sure. I don't hate it. Big brain moves, that one. Zeus, how you going, mate? Should I hold Gawn? Look, I'm with you on this. I'm considering it as well because some of my trades that I could run this week are definitely one of the ones that include this week Gawn going down to Big X and then getting Perriman up to like a Clark, for example. I can do that with getting like the 40 odd K-ish, 30K-ish from Gawn. So we'll see. I think Gawn has, again, a lot of people got off Big X at the start because they wanted to try something else because the fixture looked tough. And then he comes out and does this to Gawn over round 2. Is the fixture a concern still? Maybe, maybe not. For Gawn, though, I think the really interesting part is that he actually has Geelong coming up. So he has Wits, and then he has Geelong. So that is I dare say consideration if you're looking at holding or trading for me, just because he might actually still do well for against Wits. We saw him have a drop, I think it was last season, and he came out with like a vengeance and did well. I would like to hold Gawn, but I'm also not opposed to moving him down to Big X, who is far ahead as in regards to who's like R1 this year. So keep that in consideration. If you haven't got any other spot fires to put out, by all means do that. Corey, how are you, mate? Thanks for being here. You have 553k for a defender. Unsure who to get. Wish I could afford Clark. Awesome. Let's switch into this and we can have a look for you. So we're going to go to players. Let's get our filters up. Let's go defense. And what do we say? 553. Let's just get around this mark. So you've got Dale. Assuming you have Roberts. Amon is a sneaky pick. You got Holmes. Blakey's on a bye. Farrell, the risky one. Sicily again, the swingman. I'm not really sure we go there. Interesting. There's not really many options because that is a really good shout that you want to get Clark. I'm also in the same boat. If I do some basic trades I want, which I'll give you guys a bit of a preview. If I go Foss down to Henderson, I can't get Perryman up to Clark, for example. I can get him up to Dale. I can get him up to Nasaya but I can't get him up to Clark. If I move something else around, I can make it happen. But yeah, it's a bit tricky. Jack versus Supercoach, should I give it James Lick the flick? Yeah, look, I would think so. I don't think he's a low chance to be named, in my opinion. He was good for this week for a loop if you had him. But I think if you haven't got Bias, maybe hold him until next week at most and then flick him to Bias. Or you could pay up and get into O'Sullivan at his costs. But again, I have a lot of question marks around Connor O'Sullivan as well. So I'm not sold on it, but you could definitely look at it. Matthew, thank you for joining me. How you going? Cheese, Warner is a scary one. Could get him, but 39% who knows, could just miss out, and then you're stuck with him in the midfield. Exactly. And this is the scary part, is if we try to go early on someone we think gets DPP, but then misses it by like 1 or 2%, it's exactly right. You get stuck. So I am not a fan of grabbing someone when that's not really confirmed. Like unless his role is locked in, it's hard. It's really hard because there is a risk that they don't meet the requirements and then you're stuck. You've got a spot stuck there for Warner now. It's a fair concern to have. Yes, I also believe Clark is preferred over Ryan. I think Freo have changed up their game style and Clark seems to be like the main man they look for distributing the ball in their back line. Getting some intercepts as well. He just looks great. What price drop players should we watch? Price drop players. Let's have a look. Let's go via break evens, and we're going to do the opposite. Let's have a look. Ryan doesn't look like it's going to work. Briggs is probably one you can watch if you have like a TDK. He might be a downgrade at this point, given his price drop, because he's got a massive break even. So watch him. Unfortunately, my man Stewart is going to be that because of the very minor PCL injury that took him out. So watch him. Gawn's another one. Diesel's probably going to drop in price. Don't really think we worry about Ridley. Fairly sure we all started the Horny Man. If you want English, like let's just say you love English for whatever reason, just wait on that. Nank, again, he's going to drop down in price. So is Martin. So wrong, probably not as much. Who else we got here? Any major ones? Steel, I wouldn't look at. Meek is actually going to lose some cash. But we like the option of moving to him from like a TDK when Pitnet comes back because of the fixture. I don't think we've seen enough from him already. He popped out a 90, don't get me wrong. But yeah, it's tricky. Marshall's definitely a watch for me. Godfather himself reckons that some of the scoring markers for Ruckman has changed, and it could be more leaning towards a disposal-friendly scoring system for Ruckman as well, which means like someone like a Marshall becomes a pretty good contender. So definitely keep an eye on Marshall. Track, definitely. I mean, he's all chances to make like when we get into like the 130s for certain players, like it's very likely they're going to lose a little bit of cash, but they could also have an absolute spike game. So Track's one to watch. LDU if you want a bit of a pod. Who else we got here? More. He's probably a late season pickup or a mid-season pickup for the forward line if he can do what we hope him to do. Yeah, unfortunate day. Brayshaw's going to come down in price. Yeah, so we're getting to the pretty easy scope of achievable with a spike break-evens here. But kind of went through the top ones. DJ Gardner-Holmes, thank you for joining, mate. What is the main man at Freo? We see it last year with Ryan, regressed, hence why I start with him. He does everything defensively and offensively, including running and bounces. Yeah, Clark is the main man. I totally agree. So I think the day or the season of Ryan is over. No more Seagulls for him. I think Clark is probably going to kick it up that next notch. I mean, Clark, if we just have a look, his last 2 scores have been absolutely solid. We had a 107, a 122, and that was in probably one of the harder matchups. And then he's got West Coast, Bulldogs, and Richmond within the next 4. And he's got Melbourne. So looking juicy. Looking juicy. So I actually am very tempted to make whatever needs to happen to get Clark into my team this week for the West Coast matchup. Because it could be a sneaky captaincy. It very much could be. It was Dale, Naz, or Holmes as moving Sardis v Henderson. Yeah. I mean, everyone's going to hop on Dale. And the more I think about this, the more I don't want to hop on Dale because I don't want to like swing with the pack because you're just going to stay where you are, essentially. If you really want to make a bit of a difference, you move to someone who's not as popular, which would be Naz in this lineup. Now, Naz is clearly not capable of reaching the same ceiling as Dale, or at least we've not seen anything like that as of yet. Dale, we know the ceiling, but we also know the floor. And this is where Naz kind of has these guys covered, is Naz has a pretty safe floor of probably like high 80s, maybe low 90s. He will have the occasional stinker. All players do. But Naz is like a really safe pick. I had him last season and there were some letdowns. Don't get me wrong, but I could always pretty much bank on him to give me a 95 at least. So, and yes, I will highlight this, Corey. Dale has around 12 buy as well. So depending on your structure already, and like we're talking, we have a look at our round 12 buy. We've already got Sheasel out. You've probably got a Richards. We've got Horny Man. You'll have like Sherry as well. So if you want a Sherry, you probably can't get Dale as well because you're going to be moving a lot of people out. So bit tricky. And yes, Sardis to Henderson, I think is a great trade. I think Foss or Sardis to Henderson this week is just a clear one. It's probably the most logical trade you can make at the moment. I am going Foss instead of Sardis just because I actually don't want Foss on my team. Sardis, I'm happy to hold till the bye and then use him as a loop. You can't loop him this week because he has the first game, unfortunately. But we can do something in the back line with a bit of a loop because we have Roberts on a bye. So that's what I'll be doing. Will Carter says to get Bailey Dale in. Look, hard to argue against it. We've seen 2 solid scores from this man, and he is doing so well. Cheese, I'm weighing up a few Rook trades in. So we've got Connor O'Sullivan, we've got Henderson, Lindsay is a must, I agree, and then Murphy Reed. Lindsay is the top one, 100% Lindsay is there. Murphy Reed, okay, so we're going to go Lindsay as number 1. I'm actually going to put Hendo at number 2, Reed at number 3, and then Connor O'Sullivan at number 4. And this is leading perfectly into TJ Gardner-Holmes. Is why am I putting Connor O'Sullivan last? Now, I'm a Catters man. And whenever a press conference comes up or after the bell or ring the bell, whatever their podcast is that they have, where they occasionally have some of the players on, I listen to all those. Not that it means anything realistically, because we're all being speculative with our picks. The writing is on the wall to me with Connor O'Sullivan. It was pretty much said very early on before round one even hit off that O'Sullivan is a fill-in for Colin Jasny. The only reason why Connor O'Sullivan even got an opportunity in the first place is because Colo was out with that groin issue. Now, they did, let's me get it up. They did a health update this week. So I am going to get it up for us. Let me see if I can share this. Awesome. So we've got one on Stewie. He had scans and it wasn't major, so he will be a test to play this week. Hope he gets up to play. If not, hopefully it's just 1 week. But we do see Geelong have late outs, which is annoying. We're unsure if Bailey Smith is going to play, just because, well, one, is this the full? It's not. Give me this one. This is what we want. Yeah, so he's a test with the knee for Stewie. Bailey Smith apparently didn't train today, which is concerning. So he may not actually play this week, which for those that didn't start him is a good thing because it means we can wait till he's on the bubble. I personally need to see him string more than 2 games together without falling apart. Martin is a test. Not that it really changes too much because he's been playing the VFL. But the main important one here is Colo. Groin 1 to 2 weeks, and this was just updated yesterday or today. So what happens if Tom Stewart doesn't get up? Colo's 1 week away. Sullivan gets maybe 1 more good game, so you might get 1 good price rise out of him. Then what? Colo's going to come back in. Stewart's probably going to come back in the week after. So round 4, we could potentially see the return of Colo and Stewart. Where are we throwing O'Sullivan in? And then he adds to the mix, you've got SDK. He's got a really tough matchup for the next couple of weeks, especially this weekend against McInerney. They've pre-warned us that they're probably going to chop him out with Stanley. We see Neil's already been chopping him out in the forward line, and Blitzcarves as well has been chopping him out. I don't feel very confident bringing O'Sullivan in when we have a bye next week off the bye. So I would really wait. Cheese, exactly, mate. The more people jumping on, someone makes less want to. Yeah, it makes me less want to get him. Was set on Dale, but goddamn, every man his dog's jumping on it. Yeah, literally. If you started him, you were great. Same as if you started Zorko. Like we got some really high scores. Like Zorko did back-to-back 130s, amazing. But now everyone's going to jump on him. But again, those who started Dale get those extra bumps. But now everyone's going to jump on, and I have a feeling that we might get 2 good scores out of him, and then we'll see him regress a little bit back to his actual maybe 105, 110s, and potentially even some floor games as well. So we might be seeing some outlier games here. And as Corey said, he has the bye as well. So make sure you are indeed looking at your team structure for bye rounds before bringing in Dale, or else you could be putting yourself in a really tricky spot. Matthew, to be with the pack or not to be? Well, this is a really good question because some of the players you kind of have to be, like Daniel, McRae, Conning, who else? Oliver, a Sheasel, even a Roberts. These are the players where if you don't go with the pack, they're going to hurt you a fair bit because if they go off and they go off like a 120, like a Sheasel going off for a 120, and you don't have him, and what's his current ownership? 67% of teams, you've just now got 67% of teams possibly ahead of you because instead of here, maybe you had a Clark who did 105, for example. So you got 15 points difference. That's where, from my understanding at least, we have these sort of players as like blockers to block you from getting behind the pack or missing those spike scores that everyone else is most likely going to get. The annoying thing for me with Sheasel is I was actually going to fade him and he'd go like a Zorko, Clark, and Stewie. Now, Stewie actually worked out first round because I'm antipodding short with Stewart basically. Worked the first round, really did not work last week, which is unfortunate. But hopefully Stewie can get back up. But yeah, if you want to actually have a shot at making distance in the rankings overall, it's a bit of a different conversation if you're just doing leagues. But if you're going for overall rankings, then you essentially do need to have some points of difference. My points of difference were starting Dunkley and Richards at M1 and M2. And that's what got me a head start in the top 1% after round 1, is because I yeah, no. But I also did see the tag coming. We saw an opening around. The tag was very well in full swing. Most teams, if available, are going to try and do it if they have the right players. So my kind of methodology around this was going, the second cogs in the machine, the second bananas that aren't likely going to get tagged. Now, that doesn't always guarantee that, the first banana is going to get tags and have low scores. No, not every team can tag. We saw it over the weekend that Neil actually outscored Dunkley a fair bit, which is disappointing because Dunkley was having a ripper first half and then just got quiet and then laid into Tim Kelly with some attention. Thankfully, Dunkley is one of those players that can generate points outside of outside of possessions. So he can actually get tackles and all that sort of stuff. So big considerations. I recommend having at least 3 pods in your team. Stuart was probably one of the other pods under 10%. These guys were the true pods. But each to their own. Everyone has a bit of a different, risk tolerance, I suppose, when it comes to players. Curtis, thank you for joining, mate. Hold or trade Foss. Look, if you have Sardis or Foss, I think trading out one of them is fine and holding the other is also fine. Just depends how much cash you need. If you can get where you want to using Sardis, go for it. If you need to trade Sullivan to get to that player you want, like a Zorko or a Dale or whoever it might be, or even using Foss to get up to like a Callahan now that he's off the bye, by all means do that. By all means. I don't have any issues with Foss or Sardis going out. If I had to pick one, I'm picking Foss. He looks good with the ball. He's just not an accumulator. Like, he's going to be a gun player. Absolutely. And it's not a hit on his actual playing ability, but we're talking Supercoach here. So let's just be very clear. He's a good bloke. Supercoach wise, he's out of my team. I'll give you some trade scenarios that I'm looking at this week as well. Just want to make sure that we spend some time. Cheese, if you had all the necessary rookies, what would you do with players like Gawn and Horny Man? Well, this is the thing, right? I feel the only 2 rookies I am missing from this team is Henderson and Bice. I've got Nevitt, Ashcroft, Sardis did all right. I've got O'Driscoll, and I've got Lindsay. I only really need Henderson this week, so I'm bringing him in for Foss. So let's just do this. Let's just bring in Henderson now because this trade, irrespective of whatever else is going on, is happening. So in this instance, I only need Bice, which is someone I can grab next week for like a prior, which is what my plan is. If you have all the rookies and you don't have any other fires put out, like moving on a Perryman, even a short, I wouldn't classify as a must trade out this week because he has the Saints. But just be wary that if he does play well, don't get retrapped into short because you think he's suddenly got the role or got the plays to give you the 105s or 110s that he might give you this week. Yeah, it's a bit tricky. But if you need to move on Horny Man and get him down to a Baz if he gets up, by all means. If Horn Francis gives me a sub-ton this week, he's going away for Smith, which is crazy because I don't want Smith. I didn't want Sheasel, and I don't want to have to bring in Smith, but because of the ownership, I kind of have to because I don't want Smith going for another 140 when I have Horn Francis or a Rankin go for a sub-ton, for example. So it's one to definitely watch and see what happens. Let me just double check. Very good. Hopefully the audio quality and everything is going well for you guys. I appreciate all 37 of you being here. Make sure you give the stream a like and hit the subscribe. We're getting so close to 500, which means we can do memberships and all that fun stuff. So very exciting times. Matthew says, I think Hornyman will bounce back next week against Essendon in the midfield, worth keeping, in my opinion. And I agree. I don't think, again, we had 2 situations last week where we saw players move out of their role for unseen reasons. We had Perryman and we had Hornyman. They both moved and changed roles for that game because of injuries. Reece McGuinness went down in Collingwood, which meant that Perryman, being the versatile player that he is, went and played that accountable back pocket role, which hurt because we wanted that CBA role. Similar to Horny Man. Saw the Koshis go down the forward line, and there was really no other replacements to fill that gap. So Horny Man went there. Now, I imagine they bring in maybe like a Radagalier or a Finlayson, cover that spot, and it's just so they can get Horn Francis back in the guts. We'll see how we go, but definitely one to watch for team sheets. It's definitely worth holding, in my opinion, for 1 week. I have a 2-week rule. It can cost because sometimes you do need to be more aggressive. The writing's on the wall, but sometimes it's not as clear as that. Corey, that's why I want Nas this week. And I want to keep climbing the ranks from 15 overall. Look, I totally hear you, mate. Look, my first round of trades or first rendition of trades was Stewart to Dale because there's like a 7K difference, and then a Perryman up to Naz. But at the same time, I actually do like a sneaky Amon. Even though he's got the buy, 5 Bice, which I'll grab next week while they're on the buy. I think Bice is a solid cover. It's only best 18, so it's not going to hurt. But Amon looks quite juicy. He looks like they're looking for him for setting up plays. He gets kick-ins. I feel like he's going to outscore Sicily this year just because Sicily is that swingman. So I think Amon's going to be that stable backman for Hawthorn now. So we'll see. Let's see. Zorko will probably start getting tagged too. By who, though? That's my question. Like, yeah, if they come up against Sydney, which they already did, I think that was round 1. They didn't go to Zorko. They went to Neil. Like, I'm not sure who would tag Zorko. And Zorko is just an angry little bugger, so he's going to probably fight them and break the tag in some way or form. DJ Garner Holmes, still love that name. Sinclair's going to be the biggest pot out of the boys in defense after this week, especially with all the attention on the rest of the pigs at the moment. Look, I agree. I think the most common players we're probably looking at bringing in defensive wise is like a Dale or a Whitfield or a Zorko. Sinclair's definitely going to go under the radar. I would love to get him in as well over Whitfield because of the buy. I can have more players from that round 13 buy, I think it is. So Sinclair is a great shout. I really don't like Cheese. Doesn't really like Naz. Doesn't have a ceiling. Yep. And Sinclair of the team. And that's the thing, right? Is what players not that you don't own are going to give you the most hurt factor? Like, how much is it going to hurt you not having them in your team? When you think of someone like Naz, there's not too much hurt factor because there's probably a lot of other players, either just cheaper or just a little bit more expensive, that can give you that ceiling that you want, such as a Clark. Like Clark's only like 20K dearer, and we know that he's got a higher ceiling than Naz. So, good shout. Good shout, Cheese. Max, how are you? Thanks for coming in. Could I trade Sheasel for cash or just keep him for now? Depends what you're doing with the cash. And this is like what I urge other people to do. Now, I know I have people reach out on X and Twitter, and by all means, if you guys do want to like have like one-on-one chats about your trade scenarios, please do reach out. I had someone reach out today and we had a really good discussion. It's not me necessarily telling you do this, but it's just an open discussion for like, why are you hesitant, or is there actually any factual evidence to back up why or why you should? So if you have the cash from Sheasel, and depends who you're going down to. Are you going down to a Whitfield? Are you going down to a Dale? Are you going down to a Clark? Because that opens up a fair bit of cash. You know, if you went from like Gawn to a Nank or something like that, you know, that's like 70K. Or if you went Gawn to a Meek, for example, like that's a fair bit of cash you can swing around the field to bump up your other lines. I don't hate getting Sheasel out, but I also think if this is his floor, he's worth holding, in my opinion. Mikey, how are you, mate? Thank you for coming in. Need your opinion if we should get Whitfield or Nasaya or Zorko. Thanks. It's definitely out of Whitfield or Zorko. I think Naz is bottom of the barrel in regards to those three. Let's have a look at their fixture, because this is essentially what's going to answer that question. And if you don't really consider fixtures as a part of your trades, I definitely recommend doing it. Whitfield has Hawks, West Coast, then Saints, and then he gets a bit of an average fixture. Hawks, he actually does fairly well against. Like he got a 152 at his last game. 108, so we can probably expect a good score this week. West Coast seems to be an easy matchup, but they can switch it around and do some good things. One thing I also like to consider as well is who's their opposition. So I put Reed on field last week, knowing that Adelaide have one of the tallest built forward lines out of the whole system. Reed got bodied, and I saw it coming, but I still put him on field over like a Pryor or a Trainer for whatever reason. Thankfully, Trainer shut the bed, but like Pryor outscored him by 21 points. Not that it is crazy influential on a best 18 round, but you can see where you might lose points in best 22 if you don't take those things into consideration. So Whitfield has a decent run, but St Kilda, do we think he gets the win hanger tag, or does he go to more of like a Green or Callahan? I think he'll be safe against Saints. They only have one tag, to my knowledge. So Whitfield, decent fixture. Zorko's, however, what has he got? So he's got Geelong this week, which I think he will smash. Then he's got Richmond. So both fixtures are pretty juicy. Then he's got Western Bulldogs, Collingwood, and Saints. Same price, same income. Not an ad. Honestly, I'd probably be leaning towards Whitfield just because you want separation. Let's have a look at let's just have a look here. Let's see the ownership. So let's just get in GWS. So Whitfield's ownership is currently at 12.7, and his round change is not that much. Cool. What about Zorko? Where has he changed? Because he was low ownership. Zorko is more owned now. I would lean to Whitfield purely based on that. They've both got nice looking fixtures. The only consideration, and like both of them have their concerns in regards to durability. Whitfield's a glass cannon in the sense that you take one head knock and you're scared. You're watching from behind the couch. Whereas Zorko's old. So that's all he's got going. Cheese reckons, think you'd rather stop Neil than Zorks, but you have to put time into Zorks. He's killing teams. 100%. I'd imagine they would put like a unconventional soft tag on him through someone that hasn't really done it before, where they try it, but then it doesn't work. Jack says, I have Sheasel, Dale, and Zorko on the defenders. Solid. The rest are low price rooks. Feel like I need a mid-pricer to get some better scores in. So you're running a 3 and 3 then. Is that only because of buy rounds? Like, say, for example, do you have a Roberts and maybe it's more of a 4 and 2 situation? If it's a straight 3-3 and we're like building into best 22, I think you definitely need to make some moves to get even someone like a Salem in at least, who's, while he still has May out, can give you some scores and make some cash. I'm not sold. Yeah, cool. Jacks, yeah. You have Roberts as well. Awesome. So you're running a 4-2 situation. If you have a bias in your team, if you don't get him in next week, so that's probably a more reliable source of a rookie score. And then maybe you have like a Pryor or Reed or something like that. So Sheasel, Dale, and Zork, I think are solid, and then you got Roberts to tie in there. I think you're okay as long as you haven't got, or at least for now, but definitely make a plan in to have like a 5 and 1 situation, because that's what I'm trying to hold on to. I don't want to go down from Perryman to like a Fraser or SDK or even a Salem, because it's just a timeline thing. I want someone who's going to stick around, like a Naz or even a Dale with the role. So consider that. I'm not sure what the rest of your team looks like, because that would ultimately decide what you should do. We have Corey, who says hurt factor for me would be, Witt is the hurt factor, or Clark, who I don't own. I agree. They're probably my two hurt factors as well. It's more achievable for me to get Clark in now. But again, if you don't get Whitfield in this week, he might become unattainable for a little bit. and just get into that 620s to 640s price range, which you don't want to pay up for. I did that all last season. It absolutely ruined me. Matthew, I remember him getting tagged last season with Star Scout. I think all hurt lines, ball movement, so definitely a possibility. That is a really good shout that with Star Scout, there could be some attention thrown Zorko's way. Again, just makes me lean towards Whitfield if you're looking at either of those two. Whitfield, a huge hurt factor. That's why I started him. Yep. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you saw what he did last season, then yeah, it's one of those things as well that you know what his output's like. Blakey, thanks for joining, man. Good to see you here. Perryman, Short, and Dade, Zorko, Whitfield, and O'Sullivan, or Zorko, Sherry, and O'Sullivan. My ruck is currently Meek. Interesting. I definitely like the first option a little bit more because I think Meek is probably a reluctant hold. It's not necessarily the house is on fire, you need to get out now. But, I mean, you're going to get Sherry in at some point as well. Do you just wait until Meek's fixtures opens up and then see how he goes? You've also added that your defense is currently Sheasel, Dale, Whitfield, Zorko, Roberts, and Bice. Yeah. Look, I think you just getting Zorko and Whitfield in is just a lock, in my opinion. If you can get those two in, just do it. Leave Meek. He'll do some better scores. His fixture opens up and he should do well. He's just had a bit of a slow start. I mean, look, Rucks are struggling this season already, so it's, yeah, one of those things. I like the first option, Lecky. Max, I have Ross, but want to turn him into a Clary. I also have Zorkdale Holmes. Could I put Shees into a Fraser? I wouldn't. I think Fraser's a trap. He might make you some cash, but he only has his tons because of a high impact play in the last quarter or towards the end of the game. I'm not sold because if he didn't have those high impact games, which just gave him a bump up in Supercoach points, he would have been around that 70 to 80 mark, which, I mean, if you want to get rookie off field, maybe you've got a few extra than you'd like. Maybe, sure, because it's a safe 70. But I think if you don't have Sheasel and you're trading him out, because I did this last season, which is why I'm hesitant to do it again. Sheasel had like 2 back-to-back games of like 80s or something. And I went, nah, you're done. Get out of my team. Literally the next week, he pops off like a 125 and it hurts so badly. Before we get into the next question, guys, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. We'll be going for around 2 hours and just, again, talking through trade scenarios. We'll go into my trade scenarios shortly, just so you guys get an idea of where I'm currently at. But make sure you give the stream a like. Make sure you hit the sub button. We're so close to 500. It's crazy. So, moving on. Yep. Awesome. Kaz, how are we? Are we jumping off Stewart? I'm going Stewart, Perryman, and Lalour to Whitfield, Dale, and Henderson. Look, I don't blame anyone for hopping off Stewart because he's about to drop and bleed a lot of cash. So if you don't do it now, it's a death hold and you're riding him through the price changes, which is admittedly scary. But to get Whitfield and Dale in, along with Henderson, I can't say don't do it. I have no issues with that at all. If Stewart gets up this week, though, Kaz, would you still trade him? That is my question. And Cheese, is Romo a sneaky option that could work as a pod if you're going up from a Flynn? 100%. I love this idea. If you have a Flynn that you held on to and he doesn't get named this week, or he does and you just want to make some cash, I love targeting Marshall. I think it's great. Kevin, g'day, mate. How are you? My only option for Henderson is to trade Big Brother Ashcroft and hold the money to trade in Smith, or wait for Smith and trade Ashcroft then. With the second option, I'm missing out on Henderson. Interesting. I think it's difficult because Smith, we haven't really seen put more than one game together. He may not even get up to play this weekend. Whereas Ashcroft has an easy game. He's versing Geelong. he could turn up again, and he just did a ton up literally, um, literally last week. Like he put up a 104 or something like that, I think. Let's just have a look. And I hope you guys don't mind me spending times on your actual questions. I appreciate you guys being here. I want to make sure that everyone gets equal attention and we actually do look into it. We're not just going, yes, no, yes, no. Like, let's actually look at the details because I think half the reason why people get so lost in trades is they're looking, especially when you guys come to like content creators, you're looking for information to help make your decision. If we're just giving you an opinion on yes, don't do it, or no, don't do it, and don't back it up, I think that's kind of out of pocket. You know, it's out of pocket. I'll take a hit for, you know, a bit of a call, but that's way out of pocket. So let's have a look. Will Ashcroft, he's got a break even of 71. All chances are he just makes it past that. But he scored a 104. What's he see? Like he's previously scored. This backlight of mine gives me the absolute, drives me crazy. I'm trying not to swear, guys. Swear like a a sailor on most days. So he gave us a 73, then a 104. Let me open up the CBAs on DFS and we can have a look because this is part of what we want to look at. So let me share this. Let's go to Brizzy. Let's have a look so far. So he's probably around the 50% mark. Yeah, maybe. Let's go into player summary. Come on, internet. Today would be nice. Ashcroft. So his DE is what let him down. So he actually could have gone higher. So a bit more disposals. Freeze 4. Yep, freeze against. I don't know. This is a tricky one. So I think moving Ashcroft down to Henderson, where does that leave you with your rookies on field? Given both, like we have 2 more best 18 rounds to consider. Henderson definitely is okay cover. I don't mind holding Ashcroft and missing Henderson because I think Ashcroft can give you the points that you might need if you want to climb in some ranks early. I'm doing what I can to hold the top 1% because it means that come round 5 and best 22, the journey to get into the top 1,000 isn't as high as than if I was starting at like 10K ranking points, for example. I'm probably going to opt for holding Ashcroft just because I do believe he's going to make a little bit of cash and potentially even give you a step up if you want a primo. Or, he makes cash this week, then you move him down to Smith, you make more money, bank more money to then get a better rookie. Like Henderson's going to be fine, but I don't think he's an absolute must. Like even Aiden Johnson in the forward line, I dare think has better job security and can push out enough to make cash. Just depends whether you want Henderson off field. DJ, do you think Data O'Driscoll, Perryman, Zorko, O'Sullivan, I'm assuming that's Foss to Henderson, is a good fix? Leaves me with 240K to swoop on Baz next week. If it's a clear after this week, that Kako is not going to burn much. I like it. Data O'Driscoll opens up a lot of cash, and he's clearly got the cover on-field points. Perryman, Zorko, no questions around that. And then Foss to Henderson, I'm doing the exact same thing, so that's good. I think that's perfect, mate. I mean, you have a lot of money in the bank for break glass and emergency sort of thing. If Baz doesn't get up, you wait till the bubble, in my opinion, or wait till he strings together a few games. And I definitely don't mind moving Kako out for him. Kako is, again, he's an explosive player. Nothing on him as a player. He's going to bring a lot to Essendon, but from a Supercoach perspective, he needs goals to score well. And it's just not happening. Very hard to get involved. And I feel like Edwards kind of took a bit more than more, not so much of the light, but he was able to get around the ball better than Kako. So, one to consider. Callahan or Clary, both similar prices. I feel like we have to go royalty and go Clary if I had to pick one. We're still at a point with Callahan where we haven't seen him do it before, essentially. We're hoping on a bit of natural progression and role progression. Callahan could definitely be up there in matching his scores, don't get me wrong. And we've seen Clary, go under a ton. But that is tricky. What's the fixture? When in doubt, what's the fixture? Don't forget to get your questions in, guys. I think we're nearly caught up, so I'll get into my trade targets soon. So we can see here that, look at that. It's just amazing. So he's got Suns, he's got Geelong, Dons, Freo, Rich, West Coast. Man, if you can hold him that long, I think Oliver's definitely a hold. But if we're picking one or the other, let's have a look. Callahan, I also think they have a pretty nice run as well. Yeah. So Hawks, probably not the easier ones. Don't get me wrong, but West Coast, nice. St Kilda could see a tag. Adelaide are pretty much even in regards to like difficulty. Bulldogs, and then Sydney. Oh, he's got Sydney in his run. Where's Sydney in that run? Because that's where it's literally going to. I'm going to make that decision off Sydney's. Yeah, go Oliver. Don't go Callahan. Simply because they have Sydney sooner. Unless you're jumping off before the Sydney game. Go Oliver, in my opinion. Corey, I still remember when you had 10 subscribers or so at the start of the preseason. That's why I subbed, as liked as much content. Now I'll get almost 500. I appreciate you, mate. Yeah, it's definitely been a journey. I think I started in round 6 last season and I only had 60 odd subscribers in the first video that started this season, like this preseason. So to go from like 68 at the start of preseason this year to be at almost 500 is crazy. Because I was just happy to reach 200 by end of this season, and then it's just everything's kind of come together. I've obviously done like the overlays and put in some effort into making the quality of everything much better, just because I thought there was a gap in the niche of the content creators that we have, which they're all great, by the way. It's not a hit on anyone that does the usual stereotype. I personally am just a very visual man, and I just happen to have the skills and tools required to do the stuff that I do. Matthew, no, mate, enjoy that you take your time with your takes. So they're in depth, makes a good stream. Appreciate that, Matthew. I'm glad that it's liked. Geez, Pryor is such a spud. I hope he gets dropped. Yeah, Supercoach keeps playing. There's problems being an AFL fan and Supercoach player. Speaking to the crowd, mate, it's so hard to balance up like going for someone, but then also like thinking about their Supercoach impact they might have. Because while I love McRae going off for like a 162, my boys lost. My boys lost. It's bittersweet. That's what it is. Jack, thoughts on Wayne Milera? I haven't seen enough. Yes, he got an 80 or something this current past rounds. I think you can spend your cash elsewhere, in my opinion. Just put it down to I'd rather take O'Sullivan, like Connor O'Sullivan, over Milera and use the cash elsewhere. Wondering if Al Huli will come into the back line. That's a good Don's question, because I don't think he does. I think there's been opportunity for him to actually crack into the side, and he just hasn't been able to do it. So I'm very worried. I think they're going to pump more VFL games into him. There's probably some when we see these players that become like really good prospects, but always are on the emergency list, there's something holding them back, which the coaches don't like. So they're probably trying to get it out of his system or correct it in VFL before they bring him into the big leagues. Praise fit. Laverty is a test for Bombers and really should be back and hope Pryor and Reed survives. Yeah, look, I'll see if I can get the Dons Essendon injury report. We'll see. We'll get some timelines on that because that is a really, really good point, Craze Fit. This sort of thing is, let's have a look. So Parrish is a test. Scary because Sardis is probably gone, but we all saw that on the wall, basically. Laverty a test. Sardis 2 weeks. Yep. Love that. We've got Perkins, got Wright, Cox, yeah. Where's Ridley on this? Do I not see a Ridley? Does that mean he's back? There you go. Benefit from the return of Ridley this weekend. Oh boy. Could we see Reed get dropped after his absolute flogging? Like he got washed last week by Fogarty. Absolutely washed. I think Reed drops before Pryor does. Ooh, scary. I need Reed to play. I need him to play, or else I'm putting Trainer on. A couple in front of them at the moment, but Matthew, there's a chance this year. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Kevin, I'm subscribed for last season. Well done, mate. Thank you, mate. I appreciate it. You've been around for the whole journey. What a journey it's been. Jack O'Neill, the Cats loss was painful. How did we lose? We lost Stewart. That's how. We lost our main man. We lost it. Like, he... Oh, hold on, I'm getting an error. Your brother has lost connection to your screen share audio. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, we lost Stewart. It just wasn't what we wanted. It is what it is. The back line, the six backmen actually did get it together in the later half, but that first half just absolutely wiped us. We just were too far gone to really even catch up to them. So, Kaz, as a Geelong man, how do you treat the medical updates? I don't trust them one bit. Well, just wish the Carlton would do the stuff more. Look, I've always had an issue with this sort of thing overall, that everything is either like 2BC or is always up in the air. Like, I understand why, because they don't want to lock someone in who then gets dropped at the last minute or make any promises. But more importantly, with Geelong, they're well known for being very, I wouldn't say deceptive with their comments on injury players, but they're purposefully not accurate to what it should be. And it does me, like, does my head in, because I just want to know if Stewart's actually going to play so I can trade him out. Because at the moment, my trade plans either don't or do include him, and I need to pick. Cheese, Reed is rubbish. Oh my God, getting furious thinking about it. 5 years in the system. I need to calm down. And you need to change your clothes if you're going to keep thinking about him, Cheese. Honestly, I need to get you some like anti-nausea tablets. It's exactly what we need. Oh boy. Stewart looked so dirty after the game. 100%. I would be too. Like, he was that perfect Sicily role where he's that floating defender getting all those intercepts. He would have destroyed fucking Saints. That's why I wanted him to like keep playing. He got out there in quarter 2 and then came off almost instantly. Yeah, it was, yeah. I was scared because I saw him go down. I was like, there goes my week. And then he got back up and I was like, yes. And then he went back off and I was like, no. It was such a roller coaster. I actually stopped watching for like a full quarter after that because I was pulling a cheese. I was vomiting. I was ruining all my clothes. Essen has shaved 20 years off my and probably added 20 more wrinkles to your face, actually. The Shawnee man. G'day, mate. Have not seen you around here before. Welcome in. Hold. Horn Francis, is he a hold? I believe so. He's going up against Cheese's boys. I believe they're Cheese's boys and the Dons. I think he comes back with a vengeance and tons up at least. Fingers crossed. I think you give him one more game. But again, this is 2 sub-ton scores in a row. I still don't have any problems if you move on to him. If Bailey gets up and it's the only way of getting Smith into your team, sure. I don't hate it. Just understand you might have to bring Horn Francis back in. And this is the thing with like trading out a Sheasel or a Gawn or a Horn Francis, is they're most likely going to be coming back into your team. Stewart, possibly not. If you don't have Stewart, you can definitely pick him up much cheaper for like a mid-pricer price point at like 450 or 470. But him actually may be like an absolute fallen primo, like an Oliver, where when he's good, he's good. So we'll see how we go. Thoughts on track? This is an interesting one because the price point is very tough at the moment, given his break even of 136. If you have him, you hold him. I don't think you trade into him this week. I think you wait for his price to drop because it most likely is going to drop, and especially if he is spending more time forward as well. The Demons were in a bit of shambles. Comben was just playing with them, getting all those intercept backs. Like they couldn't actually catch a break. Larky was stealing everything when they bombed it into them, and then Comben was stealing everything when they tried to bomb it into their own 50. Crazy. Yeah, as Cheese is saying, is track even worth it at this point? I don't think so. Not unless he gets DPP, then you bring him in once it's confirmed he's getting DPP, and only if it's confirmed, then sure. get him in. Until then, I think like a Callahan's a better replacement. Thoughts on Holmes? I don't hate the pick. He's like 23% owned. I'm just not sure if he has a ceiling. I don't see him cracking top 6, maybe top 10. I'd struggle to consider that he would take top 8 at this point, considering like I think Amon will finish higher than Holmes. That's a call. That's a take. If it doesn't work out that way, don't come for me. Yeah, track's not worth it. Shawnee, how is Gawn going to do against Wits? Got absolutely destroyed against Sherry. Well, this is the thing. I saw a clip of Gawn on like a Triple M spot saying that there was some stuff going on, but he doesn't believe that's what caused him to get washed. And he just owned the fact that, yeah, Jerry just had his way with him, basically. And that's all there is to it. Now, do I think we're going to see another 67 out of Gawn? No, I actually don't think so. He might only ton up or just under ton this week against Wits. But I think given his performance last week, he's probably going to be on a mission to make sure that he's still around and he's still like an all-Australian ruckman. Then he has Geelong, and then he has Essendon, which are quite restrictive, but he still does decently well. I think he'll absolutely flog Geelong in the ruck. So I'm holding him purely for the Geelong game, essentially. JF, Hornyman or Rankin, don't mind it. Don't mind it at all. If you personally hate the pick and you can't stand him being in your team, sure. Make your life easier. Have a bit of fun with it. Get Rankin in. Rankin only got subbed because they could, essentially. Because they could. That's the only reason why they subbed him off, is just to manage him. So, very good. Don't forget to keep going with comments and any questions. I'm quickly going to go through what my trade scenarios are. Would love to get your thoughts on it, people. We have a lot of knowledgeable people just come hang out and just talk amongst the content creators and in the community, and you guys are legends. So I love talking about all this sort of stuff. I'm trying to increase the live streams as well, because one person especially who's not here, Jonas, where you at, boy? He's crying for me to stream and he's not even here. CWT, this man, I need to, before we get into my trades, I'm quickly going to highlight, we'll go through the other questions after my trade scenarios, but this man is currently ranked 5th. Me and him had some discussions just before round 1 and during round 2 of our trades. This man has done everything correctly. He started Dale, started Dunkley, started Richards. Whatever you have, whatever sneaky link you've got, I need to stay in the 1%. Hand it over. What's the price? All right. If it's giving Cheese clothes so he can freely vomit when his team sucks, awesome. But no, welcome in, CWT. Thank you for being here. Absolutely love your work. So my trade scenarios. Now I've already given away the first one, which is happening irrespective of any other moves, which is Foss to Henderson. So what other ones are we looking at? And yes, Shawnee, this is Spud Guns. So what are we looking at in regards to the close? Maybe might do that. When we get 500 and I get enough watch time, I get membership. So you never know. But yes, so I've got Foss down to Henderson. We have Perryman. Now, what do we want to do with Perryman? We've got 551 in the bank. This is just shy of Clark with 63. So we're about 12K off. Now, can we move someone else and boost and get that 12K off moving maybe a Kako down to a Aiden Johnson? That's a consideration I've played with. But what's available in this, sort of range that we're looking at? So Roberts we've already got. Amon is one I'm heavily considering as a pod. Don't take it. CWT, I'm looking at him. CWT is going to take my pod because everyone else is taking his pods. Ridiculous. I'm actually heavily considering Amon because not a lot of people are going to go there for the buy. I'm happy to take the points hit at best 18 to have a pod moving forward. There's Blakey. Not one I'd look at. Also Sicily. But I think Amon's probably on top of Sicily in regards to scoring potential. There's obviously Dale that we can get to if we want to jump on board. He was at 1.8% ownership. I am curious. That's now almost 10% ownership, and then probably going to go much higher. Bye-bye Tripod. He's probably going to sit around a Whitfield of around probably 12 to 15% ownership by the time round 3 starts. So we could go Dale and just kind of get on board that train, which could work. By all means, could work. So Dale's definitely an option and probably makes the most sense. Is there anybody else available? Battle, I don't think he's relevant. Hardwick, not relevant. Salem is definitely one to look at with Stephen May out. The issue I have with picking Salem is it's a timeline issue. It's a timeline factor that we have to consider of when is May back. So let me get up the Melbourne injury reports and we can see just how far away. Here we go. Let me share this with you guys. We'll go through it together. So he's even a test by the looks of it. Do we have an official graph? Here we go. He's a test. I changed my mind. Salem's not an option. No, don't do Salem. He's not going to be doing well. There's obviously Holmes as well. Now, the thing here, if Stewart does not play, there is only one person that could get tagged at Geelong, and that's going to be Holmes or Smith. If Smith is still not playing, it's Holmes every day of the week. He still pushed out a 91 with a Windhanger tag. I'm not sold on him. So at this point, it's really out of Dale, Amon, or Naz. If I just want to do a 2 trade. If I can get away with just doing 2 trades this week, just doing a Foster Henderson and a Perryman to like Nasiah or Dale or Amon, and then keeping Stewart if he's only off for 1 week, that's probably what we're looking at. For the moment, I'm feeling Amon. It's a bad shout. Don't do it. Don't do what I do. Go Nasiah. It's a safe pick. But this is what I'm thinking. Now, why am I thinking about Amon? Let's have a look at it. I'm going to get the kick-in breakdown, and we're going to have a look at the Hawks. So far this season, Sicily is still predominantly, very in there for the kick-ins. But when he plays forward, they go to Amon. He's getting consistent kick-ins, and he's consistently playing on from them. Big points. Okay. So that's a plus. I think someone asked about his heat maps. Cheese. Let's have a look. So just in his first 2 games. 3 games where he's got 100, 122, 106. So his first game, he was a little bit everywhere. Not ideal. Okay. You guys probably didn't even see it. Hold on. New tab. Bit everywhere. Not ideal. Okay. This is game 2. A little bit better. This is like receiver, distributor down the wing, looking to make plays. This is how I perceive it anyway. But we also see that he moves up the ground and potentially gets some inside 50s. Scoring. That's a bump up for inside 50s. So that's pretty good. Then his last game. Nasty. Kick in, distributor, maybe a bit of defender, and then moved up the ground a little bit to get some inside 50s and involved in some plays. Now, I could have some confirmation bias here. By all means, call me out on it. But I don't think his heat maps worry me. They could worry someone else who's maybe not a big fan of Amon, but someone who is, like me, kind of like it. So I'm curious to actually get your thoughts, guys, on what you think is going to happen with Amon. Do you like the pick? Do you not? What do you think? Naz is the better pick? Sorry, guys, just making sure that my dog is all good. So yeah, Amon's there, but obviously I also think Naz is a solid pick too. Don't know what happened there with the screen. Sorry, guys. Naz is also a solid pick, so Amon could easily become Naz, who has a decent fixture. Hawks have a nice fixture too. But it's one of these two. We've got the cash there. We can do that. So this is what we're looking at, and hopefully Stewart gets up for this weekend. That's one of the trade scenarios. Because we just do 2 and we don't boost, which I kind of love. I love not using my boosts. And yes, Praise Fit. He does have a buy. I'm willing to take a hit potentially because I'll get bias next week for Pryor, or move Reed or someone down to a bias and then have some cover. Because it's best 18. So we'll see how we go. I'm not 100% sold on him on. Could easily be an aside because he's got that round 13 buy as well. A little bit easier. So that's probably the ones I'm looking at. If I boost, though, it's just Stewart to Dale, essentially. That's all we're going to be looking at. Or the other one is we trade out. If we have this scenario and we boost, we get Gawny down to Big X. And then guess what? We can bring in Clark. I don't hate this because I get Clark, another round 13 buy. I get, ideally, number 1 ruckman for this season. Stewart still gets up. And then I've got these 5 running my back line. I don't hate it. I don't love the idea of hopping off Gawn so early, knowing that the Geelong game's going to hurt. But the only concern we had on Big X was the fixture, and he's proved us goddamn wrong. So, or the other alternative as well is we leave Gawn and maybe we go Horn Francis to a Smith to get the cash, and then, let's try it. I don't like the idea of trying it, but let's do it. Let's do this. In a world where Smith plays, let's get Hendo in. The Horny Man, Placid. Getting in Schmidt. And then we can get Whitfield. Oh boy. Oh boy. That's juicy. It's juicy. We move off the Horny Man. Again, or we just go down to Clark. We still get Clark and bank some cash. So if we get Clark, it gives us a bit of cash moving forward. Oh my goodness, you guys can't even see the screen. Thank you so much. Thank you. The sharing thing's a little bit tricky with the tabs. So thank you for notifying me. But yes, so if we get Clark, we move Perryman to Clark, Boss to Henderson, and then the Horny Man to Smith. We bank 135k for corrections or anything we need to do next week. We probably get more cash in the bank if we move Pryor down to Bice. Yeah, I was cooking and I forgot the sauce. 100%. I left the sauce in the pantry. I was cooking. I was doing this and I was like, oh, this is juicy. And you guys are like, bro, that's cool. Sounds good. Can't see shit. So, hey, second stream. Well, we're getting the mistakes out of the way. So, anyway, this is the instance where Smith gets up this week and we fade. We get off Horny Man for now. I'm again nothing set in stone outside of Foss to Henderson. So they're kind of the trade scenarios that I'm working with. But Foss is gone 100%. Henderson's in. That's 100% locked in. And Perryman's either going to Dale or Nasiah. Even Amon, even though he has the buy. But we'll see how we go. Let's get back into the questions. Where was I up to? All right. Matthew, is SDK as bad as people make out? Probably. The reason being, he's got 2 hard matchups coming up. Chris Scott has said that he is going to be chopped out by Stanley against tougher opponents. If Stewart is out, does that mean SDK moves back? Because that was his primary role before anything of ruck related came into it. So there's a lot of moving parts, which we saw on the weekend. He only scored like a 73 or 71. It's just not ideal. It's not ideal. So I personally wouldn't be bringing in SDK this week, even if you want like the cash gen side of things, because I don't think it's actually going to generate as much cash as you'd like. Is Xarxis playing this week? He's not. He is out with a finger injury, unlike someone else who does not have a finger injury who was from the category. We'll leave that one alone. We'll gift him the clothes. Yep, sure. Give Cheese some clothes and a good feed. No, because a good feed's going to make him vom anyway. Yeah, Sardis won't play. Broken finger. He got Henderson from the start. Great pickup, Shawnee. Very, very good. She says, not a good idea to give me fee before looking at my team. Yep, pretty much. Yeah, Naz, solid shout. Jack's here. Jack, welcome in, mate. Welcome in. Good to see you around. Doing well, mate. Doing well. First solo stream for the channel. Got spare time this week, so I thought I'd open up a trade talks one because everyone loves talking and discussing trades quite early, but also Tuesday is we get a bit of the injury reports as well. So we can get a little bit more guided with some decisions. And if you've noticed, I spent a bit of time on each question that are asking about, who versus who in regards to tryouts. So maybe a bit more in depth than what you're used to rather than just a quick opinion or yes and no. But that's the point of this stream. I've got plenty of time to share for you guys. Got to stay hydrated. Drink your water, ladies and gentlemen. Jack, need to trade 2 out of 3. Sanders, Garcia, and Foss. Who do you hold? You hold Foss, unfortunately. I don't. Maybe you hold Sanders. What does Sanders score, actually? I'm making an uneducated guess here. I don't want to do you a disservice. Let's have a look. So he's got a break even of 64. Just scored a 62. I need CBAs. I had CBAs open on another tab. Let me get CBAs open. We'll have a look. I'm getting it open. I will remember to switch screens. All right, let's have a look. Western Bulldogs. He dropped down from a 42 to a 13. I wonder why. What happened to cause him to drop the CBAs? Did anyone else's CBAs go up? Kennedy's went up a little bit, but not at the cost. We had Harms and Aaron. What? What is he doing in the CBAs? That's interesting, actually. Look, I think you can easily move the price off Sanders into a keeper. So I dare say you trade Garcia and Sanders and make the most out of that cash. And you save Foss's money for a rainy day next week, potentially. Yep, went through that one. Nasai, if you want to use the cash. I very much agree. I think Nasai should be better than what he was last season. So we'll go from there. Jack was thinking Foss, Short, and Garcia to Henderson, Smith, and Frazier. I don't mind the first 2. I think Frazier is a trap. If you've got more cash available, I dare say try to get him up to like a Dale or wait a week and just get hold Short for this week and just get Henderson and Smith in if you can, if there's enough cash available. Because Short has St Kilda, and then you can use Short's cash essentially next week if you really had to. I don't think Frazier's the answer, unfortunately. DW2, Bowie's a better pick than Salem, by the way. 100k cheaper. Shared the kick-ins with May and McGee last year. Salem didn't get a sniff. Yeah. It's actually a great shout. Let's have a look. Bowie, mid-pricer, is going to make some cash. That's what we like to see. What has he scored so far? I have not really looked too much at him. Okay, Supercoach. 96, 97, solid scores. And we did mention kick-ins. Let's have a look at that. Let's back up this call from CWT. So if we go to Melbourne, Bowie, love it. Love it. So far, so good for this season with May out. What about last year? Definitely gets a fair share of some kick-ins. That's a good shout. CWT, did you just run one of your pods again? One to look at, actually. You could. Ooh. I'm having ideas again, guys. This is not good. What if we actually get Bowie in for Perriman to get the cash. Right. Right. Hear me out. What do I even do with that cash though? What would I even do? Do I just get rid of Stewart? Maybe I just get Stewart up to wherever the hell I want. Interesting. Good shout though. Good shout. Max, Sinclair, Whitfield, or Dale? I'm going to go Sinclair. Quick and easy. 1, DPP. 2, odd-ish. Lower ownership, I imagine, than Whitfield or Dale currently. And then the buy. So I think Sinclair's probably going to be the best one out of those. 65 people in here. Welcome in. You guys are absolutely legends and loving it in. It's definitely the 8 p.m. time slot you guys love. I did have to start a bit early just for some other commitments later. But for those that are in here, once I do handle those commitments, there are all chances I do a kick-ons stream for a late night stream as well for those that are obsessed with Supercoach. So if you're here now and you actually do want to see a kick-on stream later, so we're talking maybe like a 10 p.m. stream, let me know in the comments or go comment some GIF on one of my latest posts that represents a late night. Keep it at least M-rated. Continuing on, Max, what rookies? I get Lindsay and Henderson or Lindsay and Reed. Reed has easy fixture. I'm assuming you're talking about Murphy Reed, and I don't mind the pick because he seems to have his role pretty much locked, I imagine, even with Shai Bolton in the team. He's got a negative 51 break even. I think you make more cash from getting Lindsay and Henderson. So let's have a look. We pay 131 for a negative 51 break even. Now we can't. The projections on any way you look at this are never going to be accurate, even with the plugin that you can get from the good guys. I can't remember the names that made it, but he's going to make a fair bit of cash. Don't get me wrong, but you're paying a little bit up for him. Whereas if you go down to, say, a Henderson, who's a 99K rookie, he's got a much deeper break even of negative 71. So realistically, he's going to make more cash if you balance out how much you spent on him versus Reed. So I actually like Lindsay. Lindsay's a must. So I like the Henderson. And it looks like that he's probably going to hold a spot. People were worried that Spargo might kick him out, which he did get name on field for, but Spargo was trash. He was trash. So I think Spargo goes out for like Pickett. Because I know that's the other concern is when Pickett comes back, does Henderson keep a spot or what happens there? So definitely see how you go. Cheese agrees with CWT. The Bowies look good. Definitely a good shout. One to look at. If Stewart doesn't get up this week, I potentially could do that. Go Perryman to Bowie and get Stewart up to a Clark and then bank cash for a rainy day and potentially use that cash on like a Hal Pepper next week to get Baz in. Oh, I actually love that idea. This is why I love having these conversations with you guys. At the end of R1, I traded Perryman for Fraser, but changed it to SDK last minute. Now I'm trying to get Fraser in. Yeah, I don't mind it. I think that's tricky. That's very, very tricky. Very tricky. The common consensus is that really, do you want to spend a trade's worth to make that many changes to the one slot? Because that's like a D5 slot that you've now spent 2 trades on. Like you would have spent 2 trades on. And then you're going to spend a third to then try and get an actual D5 in. I think you just hold SDK, hope he does an 80-ish, gets some good hit outs, maybe some good intercepts, and makes decent cash. And then you wait to see if Fraser's the real deal or not. I mean, you could go early. I definitely don't have any qualms with you going for Fraser. I think either way, SDK or Fraser is a means to an end. Obviously, Fraser's got probably some more cash to make, but he also costs a little bit more. I really can't guide you on that one. It's one or the other. I'm reluctant to spend another trade. If I was in your position, I would just hold SDK and then trade out once he's made a bit of cash at least. because there are going to be some defenders losing a bit of cash. And then next week, you would have had some other rookies make cash. You might actually have a better way of going up and down or potentially boosting and getting an actual keeper in that position rather than spending this week on Fraser and locking him in for another 3 weeks, for example. Max, I'm doing Harry, Short, Finn to Zork, Dale, and Reed. I'm assuming you mean Sheasel. So Sheasel, Short, and then Foss to Zorko, Dale, and Reed. I don't hate it. I would be trying to hold on to Sheasel as long as you can. I don't know. Can you go to Short and Finn to Zorko and Dale without having to get a Rook off? That would be my only question. Corey, I've liked him on since after the second game. Yep, me too. I think he looks absolutely solid. It's just that buy that hurts him clearly. It's interesting. Is the buy going to be worth it? Is it not? Yeah, unsure. Jackmon has a decent run, Port, Rich, and West Coast all within 4 weeks. Exactly. And this is the thing, is from pretty much round 5. Where are they? Yeah, round 5. It might be a round 5 pickup, potentially. I'm not sure what else happens here. Maybe we hold Stewart, let his cash go down, then pivot to him on. Oh, no. But yes, he does craze fit. He does. It doesn't mean you can't go there. A lot of people started a Whitfield and held the buy. So I don't think a buy is an end-all, be-all with that buy thing. Cheese, it's a hard one with the mind. Don't think he's a hurt factor there, but I think the consistency is as good as he doesn't have a buy next week. Look, that is so true. That is a very valid point in regards to Amon's probably a safe pick, but so is Naz, and Naz doesn't have a buy, and he has a better mid-season buy as well. So I agree. Trainer or Reed for Bice? I'd probably go Trainer. As much as Reed is getting wiped, he actually holds a role. Hopefully, I mean Ridley's back, so we might see something change. But for the moment, I think Reed's a staple for his role. He's just not great. Corey, haven't used a boost either. I still scored well with no Anderson last week as well. This is the consideration if I get Amon in. It's best 18. Do I trust my other players to kind of hold pace? Yes, I might take a couple of ranking hits, but if you've all noticed something, the ranking is very, very tight. Like it's 150 point difference between like 20k spots. It's ridiculous. Assuming these are about the potential trades of moving on, Gawn to Big X and getting Clark in. Yep. I love it. Like it. Praise fit. Change screen, let us see. Yep. That was my bad. Let's be honest. The reason why we picked Gawn was for the 1 week. Yeah. That's 100% it. We chose Gawn because we thought we were going to see a double ton. And then he let this man kick the game-winning goal on him. Yeah, it could be the downfall of Gawn this year. It looks like it. Max doing Harry, Short, Finn, Zork. Yeah, I think by the way, you look at Max, he has not gone good against Geelong. Yeah, I mean, he's not done badly though either. And mind you, this is not with SDK in the ruck. Like there's portions of this game where it'll be SDK and he's going to get some, a bump up in points. I don't think they bring in Stanley and have him run full ruck time. I think they still give SDK some time just for a learning curve. Yeah, bro was cooking. I can never forget the sauce. James, who's the better option, Koss or Henderson? Henderson. I've spent a fair bit of time talking about Koss, but the too long did not read version is there's a lot of question marks on if that role stays because Colo was a straight swap for him. Stewart's out, SDK could slide into the back line. There's a lot of moving parts in Geelong, and that's why it's hard to pick Geelong players because they're all pretty flexible. Curtis, thoughts on Day, SDK, and Hall to Whitfield, Lindsay, and O'Driscoll? I got no issues with any of that at all. Curious to know if you started Hall or if you just brought him in and saw the 33 and then you're trading him out. But in regards to those trades, just based on that, I love it. I think that's great. Whitfield, absolute keeper. Lindsay, cash gen. O'Driscoll, cash gen. And both those two rookies are going to provide you on-field scores as well. Shawnee also has the VC on McRae. I love it. We'll talk a little bit about VC and VC options as well. Great content material, mate. Thank you, Joey. Thank you. Appreciate that, mate. Just doing my best out here. I know I spend a lot of time just making, usual videos that most content creators do, but I feel like the live streams, and especially the live streams where I get Supercoach Pro in, we just have an absolute ball. Me and him are very much like a Batman and Robin duo. So you will see plenty of us two on each other's channel moving forward, I can guarantee you. Also, let me know if there's anything missing from this layout for stream at least. We've got obviously the screen where we can see things on the left and then me over here, but there is some free space for extra information if you guys wanted. Also made sure we had space for the comments underneath the main display so nothing was getting cut off. DJ, Amon is a good pick. I like it. It has the potential for a great high ceiling games with Hawthorn's elite transition game. 100% agree. But yeah, and that's the thing. I think Amon has potential to have a higher ceiling, most definitely to Naz. But I still think Amon's a good pick. I don't think his floor is too bad. Let me see. I'll get it open in another tab. Let's just have a look at his averages because he's what? No, okay. I clicked on his name, nothing came up. So if we have a look at like previous data to kind of go off here, so he averaged 91 last season, averaged in the 80s, but averaged in the 90s. So he's definitely in that Naz territory. However, with Sicily now moving forward and then Hawks now being a decent team and moving better with the ball in transition, as DJ's highlighted, it seems to me off this short sample size of 3 games that they're using him for that transition. He's looking very impactful in that way. Not like an impactful way like a Horn Francis, where if they don't impact, they have really bad scores, but impact in the way of they're looking to use him consistently. So I still don't hate the pick. If I can find a way to get him in after the buy, I'm going to. It's that easy. And I don't care if I have to miss out on someone else to do that. But that's essentially where I'm thinking for Amon is I either get him in now and figure out how to cover the buy, even with like a bias, for example, and just take it as it is, or get him after his buy. James, Hasty, Shaw, and Sardis to Zorko, Henderson, and Lindsay. I don't hate any of those. I think they're all solid picks. I traded out Hasty last week, but I think let me open up another tab so I can see. Let's get this here. Stocker came in for what we imagined was Hasty, and now he's injured. So there is a world where Hasty comes back in and plays. So you might want to hold on to Hasty potentially and save a trade. Does that mean you miss out on like a Henderson? Potentially. I definitely think you get Zorko in, and I definitely think you get Lindsay in. I think I wouldn't say Zorko's a must, but Lindsay's definitely a must. You do whatever you need to get. You literally just go Sardis to Lindsay. I have no issues with that. Do you need the cash from Hasty to Henderson to get short to Zorko, though? That's probably my question to you. Jack only had around 400k, so Fraser was the only one. I do agree it's a bit of a trap. If Smith isn't named, I'll reconsider options. Yeah. Look, at the end of the day, there's more faith in, say, a Fraser getting a higher score than a rookie. So I definitely don't hate it, and he's probably going to make cash. So it's the worst of two evils, basically. Bias isn't playing, so you kind of have to factor that in as well. JRD, I was looking at Bowie, plus he's an absolute legend and a great person. Oh, he's got the good bloke factor. I love it. I love it. He's got plus 10 Supercoach average points because he's a good bloke. As Brad knows, I love a YouTube stream and I'm living in Norway with my missus, so it's 10:15 in the morning. Wake up and get to watch footy on the weekend. So that's talk about balance. That is a good balance. Injury list is out. Okay, I'm assuming you're talking about the official AFL injury list. Let's have a look. I'm assuming you're talking about this one, Chase. So we'll get into this very shortly. We'll just go through a few more questions. Fraser is a trap. Josh, g'day, mate. What are you doing with Stewart with recent news that it's minor? Look, if he just fails to get up for this week and is due back next week, I am heavily considering holding him just because I probably have better things to do with my cash and like trades. and I still hold the faith, and it's also kind of my content shtick because he's my doppelganger or I'm his doppelganger, whatever it might be. So probably a reluctant hold. Otherwise, I think trading him out is more than fine before he bleeds absolute cash. Because if I don't trade him out this week, I am absolutely holding him and going on a wild ride. How long should I antipod Shees? I'm tipping he bounces back. Look, I'm jealous that you started by antipodding him because I was going to do that and then backed out because I got scared. That preseason game scared me. And I feel like I had to go with the pack to be a bit of a block as well. So you did well to stick to your guns and antipod him. Oh, before we get into injuries, let's just have a quick look at his fixture because we can kind of pick where that bounce back's happening. I don't think it's going to happen against Adelaide. I don't think it's going to happen against Sydney. I probably don't see him like fully bouncing back until maybe Brisbane. Not even. He could bounce back any time past Sydney, I think. Gold Coast, he might bounce back a little bit. Potentially. But definitely not over the next 2 weeks. So I think you still antipod him for the next 2 weeks. Pass the buy rounds, for sure. And then see what happens. Because he's going to drop cash now. With a break even of 170, he's going to bleed cash. So he's projected to go down to 600k. So just hold the antipod until you see otherwise, in my opinion. Trade Stardust or Foss for Henderson. Either or other, I'm going Foss just because there's more cash to gain. So Stardust is out for 2 weeks. Are we holding him? I am going to hold him because I want to get the cash off Foss. I don't need Foss on field either because I have Henderson and Lindsay, and I feel like there's enough cover there. So if Stardust is out for 2 weeks, I'm holding him past this. You can't loop him because he's got the first game, which is unfortunate, but you can loop him next week because of the bye. So best 18, any plays that you can loop, this makes for a better strategy for that round, in my opinion. Priz. I don't know what this means, Cheese. What does this mean? Whitfield or Zorko? Season long, Whitfield. If you just want to capture early points, Zorko. So Free is still hiding their game plan for. Yes, they are. They sure are. It's so important that they're willing to lose games over it. Corey's still unsure on VC on McRae or Anderson against D's, but I do like McRae into Zorko. I think Anderson's a great shout for a VC too. I mean, I think a lot of people have McRae, so a VC on McRae is probably very likely. Can we actually see? We'll have a look here. Most VC'd. I don't know. Is this going to be from last round? Yeah, it's round 2. Not going to show. That's annoying. Anyway, I think a lot of people are going to start looking at McRae as an option. So, hey, if you want to go left field a bit, which is how you make difference in rankings as well, by the way, by not following the pack, I think Anderson's a great shout. We have Daniel. Last week, I panic traded Boyd and held Flynn as M3. This week, I realized I can trade Flynn to Perryman and Sardis for Zorko, Boyd, and Lindsay. It is a blunder. Wasted 2 trades on Boyd's. Look, it's not ideal. A lot of talking tonight. It's not ideal. Don't get me wrong. However, I think the return that you're going to get from making this, like you get Zorko for 1, you get Boyd to a 99, which we've all probably got Boyd, and it's just going to be a loop for us. And then you get a must-have Lindsay. I think the reward of getting those players in versus the cost of a trade, they don't put you in the negative. So I think it's fine, mate. I think you're fine to do those trades. Max, yes, I have to get a rookie to get Zorko and Dale. I like Whitfield, though, but the run for Zorko, look at next week's must have. Yeah, 100% get Zorko. I think overall, like, you can't go wrong with getting a Whitfield or Zorko, but I think Zorko, there's a lot more hurt factor at the moment if you don't have him. Ari, welcome in, mate. Thoughts on getting Jack Graham next week as a bridge? So Hugo Garcia to Graham, I didn't make 100k, then go Graham to Rankin. I don't mind it. I actually don't mind it. I am a little bit more watchful now with Graham being injured, but he definitely was on the cards to watch for the West Coast Weagles. I think Graham gets up because he has scored well. I mean, you're probably going early on Graham, and that's a risk, but I think it might work. I think going Hugo to Graham is fine change. I think there's only maybe 100k, and then you make 100k off Graham to go to Rankin. I think that's fine. I think it can definitely work so long as Graham keeps his form. I think me and Brad or me and someone looked at Graham's scoring history. I don't know if it was on a stream or something like that, but definitely could work. Definitely could work. What do we got? Corey, Hasty for me will go to Johnson next week for buy and then buys for Patton. Love it. Solid. Do we hold Hasty? Look, if he plays and you need it, sure, but just be mindful that Hasty was playing well, still copped the sub, then got dropped instantly. Like Ross is now Bevo. So I don't have any faith really in the St Kilda rookies as much as I should. But I could just be reading it in a little bit more than usual. Short, Perryman, Foss to Clark, Bowie, Lindsay, 3k short of getting who I want in Sinclair over Clark. This is probably the most frustrating thing in Supercoach is when you're like under 5k short of getting who you want. I can't think of anyone like anything more frustrating than being like, yeah, I can get them. And then especially on a price change week where you expect them to go up a little bit more, but they don't. And then it just changes your whole plans considerably. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Cheese, nothing really interesting on the injury list, to be honest. That's all right. We'll fly through it. We'll go through now just because you guys have been awesome with the comments. So let's quickly get the injury list up and just fly through it. So Adelaide, nothing interesting. Caden Coleman is still TBC, which is great for Zorko. Lohman test. Does this impact Levi Ashcroft? Potentially. One to watch. And Sartovic to BC as well. What about Carlton? Cotter, 4 to 6 weeks. Carroll a test. Who do we think this is influencing? Maybe Campo. Who's going to affect Campo? Yeah, we know Holland's McKay test. They really need McKay back in the team. Having no movements hurting them a lot too. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm not a Blues boy, so I think the only one that really could change things is Carroll potentially, but I'm not entirely sure on his impact on like a Camporelli, for example. Collingwood, check is a test. McGuinness' season, we knew that. Look, Ned Long, if you brought him in, I'm not sure what his job security looks like. We'll see. Still annoyed that Long got on the field before bloody Perriman. What a stitch up that was. Essendon, Laverty, we kind of looked at this before. Laverty and Parrish a test, Setterfield a test. Stardust stocks are not looking great, I would say, with all those considered. And even like a Pryor and Reed potentially get taken out of the mix. Brio. Now, this is interesting in regards to matchups or potentially those who started Jackson. Darcy is apparently 1 week away, so interesting one to watch for that. Swikowski, 1 to 2 weeks. Does that influence Reed or O'Driscoll? Walters, 2 to 3 weeks. CBC on Walker. Young is 1 week, so that's probably the most impactful one that we're watching is what happens to, say, I think it's Wagner, CWT. If you're still in here, you'd have him. Does Young influence Wagner? Does he influence O'Driscoll? What happens to their roles? So 1 to watch, 1 week away. Getting scary. Now, Hughes, not really influence. Mr. Courtman, finger injury. Come on. Conway back TBC. Look, Conway's been training with the groups, so that could also influence SDK's role a little bit too. Polo, again, we kind of looked at 1 to 2 weeks. Anyone else? Smith and Stewart test, so that's fine. That's fine. Ballard season, yeah, nothing really interesting there. Who we got for a test? Hogan. Okay, so this is interesting. So we got Hogan and Stringer as a test. What happens to Leak? What happens to Stone? What movements do they make to the team overall? So Leak's probably gone, I imagine, from the team. because they've got now Green back, and then they've got their forwards now sitting pretty. Like they're going to have both Hogan and Stringer back. So it'll be interesting to see the mix of GWS there. Hawks, who we got? Where's Warple? 1 to 2 weeks. So if you brought in like a Josh Ward or you had like a McKenzie, I feel like Warple's injury, excuse me, actually benefits them and their roles. Like Josh Ward's been playing quite well, and so has McKenzie. Ward's been playing a lot better than McKenzie, in my opinion. But Warple coming back 1 to 2 weeks could heavily influence that as well if you did bring them in. Now, the only person we're not really looking at, if you're looking at Bowie, May's 1 week, or he's a test for this week, sorry. So definitely one to watch if you're looking at bringing him in, like I potentially might be. The other one is Pickett, which we know is coming back at definite round 4. So what happens to a Henderson for this example? I'm not really sure. We've got a foot for Windsor, 1 or 2 weeks. Does that influence Lindsay's role when he comes back? Potentially, but nothing immediate to worry about. Logue is a test. I don't really think that changes anyone's concerns in regards to like a Foss. I don't think we're looking at any other rookies. Who else we got? Butters 2 to 4. Promising. Definitely keen to get him once his price drops. Precocious, TBC, we know that. Marshall test. McEntee test. Yeah, nothing too crazy there. Here's a test. Smiley's a test. One to watch from a rookie perspective. Could be good. Could be horrid. Saints. Max King, 1 to 2. We were kind of looking at this for the boy situation, but good old Romo's already taken the full ruck time, so nothing to really consider. One to watch is Philippou, 5 to 6. It's going to be a while before we even consider him as an option. The one that is interesting for Sydney, which is going to be, obviously we've got Bice and we've got Patton, and we're looking at job security. We've got Cunningham in 1 to 2, Fox 2 to 3, McDonald 1, McInerney round 6, Mills 1 to 2. Mills is going to be one that we watch because that's probably a really good like D5 slot for him. So maybe you have a Fraser. He makes a little bit of cash and then you move him down to Mills potentially and paying 80K or something like that. Campbell Chesser, why is he not playing? Jack Graham, for those that were interested, is a test for this week, so hopefully he does get up. Waterman a test as well. Do you imagine that BJ Williams holds his spot? Flynn just got moved out. So that means they're probably not going to need Flynn. I would be curious to see what Archer Reed's job security is like with Waterman back. One to watch. This is interesting. 3 to 5 for Bont. And I think Traw has been extended back to 4 to 6. So someone like a Fraser could have an improvement on this as long as, and Sanders potentially too, but Sanders wasn't necessarily a question of role, more scoring capability. So one to watch there. And that's it. You're right, Cheese. That was not necessarily exciting. Let's get through it. Sorry for taking a little break from the comments, guys. We will get back into it. Gone away. I have the same 4 rookie mids that you have on field. Would you use a boost for starters to Henderson? Already have Lindsay and Murphy Reed. A boost just to get Henderson in. You're baking 100 or almost 100K. And then, well, I don't mind it. You're probably gonna be in the positive in regards to values for that. I don't mind it. Henderson's going to be good cover for the next best 18 too. If your long name's Smith when they know he's not playing, what does the test equal? This is why I hate Geelong. They're always so scriptic with their updates. Okay, so thoughts on trades. I went Jordan Clark, Lindsay, and Henderson for Flynn, Sanders, and Foss. Beautiful trades. I could not spot anything wrong with them. Beautiful, groovy. Stardust will be back in the best 22 at Essendon's when he's available. If you look at Essendon's CBAs, Durham has benefited the most from Parrish's absence. Solid suggestion. I like it. Good thing to consider. And this is why I've gone Foss instead of Sardis, because I want to hold Sardis in case something like this is true. Because we've seen the scoring potential from Sardis. Like we always knew the potential was there. It's just that Tog that was the issue. With Parrish back, What happens? I'm willing to bench him for a week to find out, essentially, because he's not going to drop cash. Or would he drop cash? No, he would drop cash. Sketchy. We'll see what happens there. Well, the news when Parrish comes back and team sheets might give us a bit of an aid. Set a bounce, boys. Welcome in. Hope your members live stream went well. Let's just do what they do with their team and make it poopy. Let's just do it. Just make it poopy. How we make it poopy? We bring an SDK for Perryman. Unfortunately, I go for the Dons. I can see a world where they have Merritt, Parrish, Codwell, SARS rotation. Hey, that's good for being a Dons man and giving us that insight. Love it. Credibility. Does the Bris v Cats game being wet make Dunkley a sneaky captain option over McRae? Ooh. Well, this is my thing, right? If it's going to be absolutely pouring, I dare say I might captain Dunkley again. Just because, yeah, Dunkley might have an absolute field day with tackles because it's going to be scrappy. So that's a good shout, Cheese. Definitely keep an eye out on the weather for that one, guys, because that's definitely one of those choices that can make or break your week. It wasn't anything like that on the weekend, and I chose Dunkley knowing there was no tag on Neil, and I should have gone Zorko. So, sad times. All the coaches are Bevo now. It's horrible. Legit. Absolutely. Brad Scott's a Bevo in his own way or form. Ross is a Bevo. Like, there's too many of them. Like, give the young guys an actual crack. Don't just start them as sub. Oh, it's so annoying. Oh boy. Reminder, guys, do like and subscribe to the stream and channel. Give us a follow on X as well if you guys are enjoying the stream. Almost at 2 hours. Absolutely crazy. I can see a few of you that replied on some status with some photos and GIFs. Love that. So we might do kick-ons later if you guys are around. Max, can we get Harry? I'm just thinking Sheasel for 5 sending and Tom for 390. So that's why I'm dropping Harry. Big call, but need to make big calls. And thoughts on Max going look like at what he did to Geelong in 95. Yeah, look. Here's the thing. In an instance of trades, and when we want to use trades, let's just assign a magic number of value of around 100K to a trade. So when you make a trade, it's going to be worth 100K. We trade down from Sheasel and then pick him up at 570. We're essentially only saving or making a 65K difference, but we've spent now 200K for 2 trades. I don't think that balances out, but for Stewart, I think it does. Because if he drops down to 400, there's about 120K difference. It's more approachable and feasible for the caliber of play that he can be. So I don't mind the Stewart option in that. And I definitely don't mind the Gawn option just because Gawn is 670 basically. So Sheasel is the reluctant one of that. But Gawn I don't mind as well. I'm stuck with SDK for now, but I think he could score good as a second run against Sam Day. Yeah, potentially. There's little chances that SDK still puts up an 85 and does enough, makes decent cash. That's definitely a reality. You got to remember, a lot of these things, it is a lot of us being speculative in our picks and what we assume. None of us are in the coach's box, unless you are, and then congratulations, you're probably going to win Supercoach. But it is speculative, so we have to kind of either assume the worst or assume the best, and we pay the price either way. So it is tricky. But with all that said, if you already have the team and you already have him in the team, it is one of those things that, look, honestly, I'm very against being too aggressive because that was me last season. My first year, I paid top dollar for everyone. I didn't pay attention to the repercussions of what it would have over the season, and it absolutely screwed me. I was left coming into the last 6 games with almost no trades. It was horrible. So just keep that in consideration. Kaz says CWT already have Henderson, could go him over Lindsay. Yep. Lindsay is a must-have. Totally agree. Voss doesn't play the kids. Yep. Nod will be the one that hurts with Young back. Wagner plays halfback. Young plays 9% mid. Yep, totally agree. Cheese wants Mills to save his back line. I think most of us do as well. It's just the other mid prices we've looked at are what we're hoping we can get from Mills. Like we bought in these other mid prices thinking they'll do what Mills would be doing for us. So Cheese just realized he's gonna have to field trainer and read again. Eesh. Thank goodness for best 18. DJ Dons to beat Port. Go Dons. I'd be surprised if Dons get up against Port because, I mean, they need the win more than anyone. North got their win last week, so hopefully it's Don's turn. Foster Henderson, short to Dale. Next week, SPSP down to Rourke and Kako to Smith. Yep. Love it. Solid trades, JRD. I love Dunk, so I got so good. It was such a good starting pick. He's all that I've done right in the last 2 seasons so far. Or Foster Henderson, short to Whitfield / Sinclair, and 70k left. No trades next week. If you're of the thought camp that Baz is a must, go the first option. If you're on the side of the fence where you need to see more from Smith to lock him in as a must, definitely do this to get Sinclair in over Whitfield. VC Jack into Dunks. Yep. Do we think Jay Short finishes top 6 defense? No. No. I agree with the JRD. Top 6 traps. Yes. So I had 4 trades. What do you think Max goes this week? I think Max gives us a 105 this week. I think he does enough. So 105, I'm making a call against Wits. He wants to have a bigger game, but he won't be able to because it's Wits. So a 105 Gawny this week, I think. And then he has Geelong. So about you two can be part of the coach's box for $5 a month. Selfless plug. No, but seriously, guys, if you aren't a member of the Centre Bounce Boys, go sign up. You get an exclusive live stream. You get to be part of the community team that they have as well. And it gives them much support, as you do with all the other creators as well. Hopefully, when we reach that 500 mark, we can do something similar. So we'll be looking to do that. I actually will give an update on that. Now, let's have a look, actually. So we're just over 420. Some people's favorite number. And we're at 428 now. So you guys are absolutely smashing it. And we're breezing through subs this preseason / early season. So you guys have been sick. JRD, do you think Baz is a must-have? Currently, no. And I never did think he was a must-have, even with the spike score. 26% CBAs, played a GMHBA on a narrow ground. I haven't seen enough. Haven't seen it. Bad timing for Dale this week with the Cottrell matchup. Very valid. We saw Cottrell go to short and put some attention on him. So Dale could definitely catch some attention. That is a great call, Jonas. And welcome in. If you wanted live streams, here they are. Set of bounce, 429 subs. See that difference. So good. Catch you, mate. Have a good one. I hope you guys had a good stream before as well. And looking forward to seeing the trades that you guys lock in, because I don't know what to do with Stuart. But have a good night, guys. I'll talk to you guys later. Jack A, first stream. Well, technically, first solo stream. My first stream on the channel I did with Supercoach Pro, good old Brad. As we know, sometimes he works late shifts and he can't necessarily always join us. I happen to have free time this week, so unsure how consistent I might be able to squeeze in a Tuesday night stream. And if I do, it's most likely going to be later, like a 9 o'clock stream, where we really get into the late night hours where things get unhinged. DRD, Cheese eats a lot of cheese because of football. Cheese is the real goat of live streams. Cheese is an OG. He is an absolute legend in the community and just shows a lot of love and gets involved in pretty much everyone that I see. We always see him in Centre Bounce and Supercoach Pro streams, so he is an actual goat. That's a big call about Dale, but Dale a much better player than Short. Totally agree with that. I don't know how much Cottrell can impact Dale. I don't think he impacts him as much as Short, but I definitely think we might see a 110 for Dale. I still have if I was to bring in Dale, I'm not expecting a 127 or a 140. I'm probably expecting a 115 at max, which is enough. Jack, I've missed the hole by the looks. Just knocked off. Hope it was a good one. Oh, mate, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still here for another few minutes. We will start wrapping up just this first part. And then I got to go, look after the dog and do some housework like a good house hubby. And then I might do kick on streams later. So this may not be the end of it. There may be a part 2, but I haven't scheduled it in. So if you guys are still keen on that, again, go leave a GIF or something on a Twitter post if you have Twitter. If not, just leave a comment just saying late night stream, just to help give me an indication that you guys want that around. Cheese is commenting live on 2 streams at the same time now. Cheese is we've probably all seen the memes where there's just multiple screens. That's Cheese. He has like 4 separate screens with 4 separate screens and streams, and just going nuts. Crazy. Probably gets paid for it. Probably doesn't, but Is Dale top 6 by end of year? This is a really good question because we've only really got we've gone off last year's data. So if we look at players, let's. Where did he finish up? Well, I don't even think we can see it to my knowledge. I think he just mixed. I think he just misses top 6. Top 10, easy. Top 8, maybe, but I don't think he gets top 6. I think he got tagged. He's still got 110. I feel like a tag would be mid if Blues do. Well, they got Hewitt that can spend attention in the mids. Cottrell plays forward for Carlton, which then goes into their back line where Dale is. So I definitely think Cottrell would be the person to go there, as Hewitt will still sit in mids. But whether Cottrell has an impact on Dale to the degree where it becomes a Neil situation where he goes 60 or gives us a floor of 80, who knows? You could try and bet against it and not bring in Dale and bring in say a Sinclair or a Naz or an Amon and go see what happens there. My goodness, JD. I would say that word because it's a funny as hell comment. But it's a stream. We gotta keep it somewhat. It's not even 10 p.m. yet. I love Dale. Started him both years. You rarely get those 115s, either 70. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. I treat it more of very much a Noah Anderson sort of pick where it's a bit of a roller coaster. He'll give you a really good spike score of 120 plus, but he'll also give you a pretty low floor of 70. Oris brother rookie coach on the phone and inside on the TV. Love that, Cheese. Love the dedication. Yeah, so a few people think that Sanders will. I think Sanders definitely want to be considered. We haven't really seen anything of Sanders. Let's not forget, not Sanders. Flanders. So Flanders will probably do what we think he's going to do, and that might actually push out Dale. Okay. Just making sure that any other commitments can wait for a little bit. I'll stay on until I need to do them, and then we potentially come back. So we'll see how we go. Dale, 100% top 6, came top 8 last year. Jack says he'll be shocked if he doesn't cop attention this week. CWT makes a bold call, says top 3. That's very bold. Hey, look, considering how you started, it's hard to argue against you. But I'm gonna. He's not top 3. He's not top 3. He's top 8 at best, I think. I think we see him come back down to reality. I'm going to skip past your comment, Cheese. I know Dale had always had the role, but this year looks different, like the Pies game. That was disgusting. Kick the ball and get 3 kicks after. Well, they're looking for the main man. He'll kick it out and then also receive it straight away. So that's interesting. There's also no Daniel now. So I don't know how much influence that has, but it's one to consider. Dale was the sub at one point last year as well. Yeah, and then as Kaz says, Bevo was being Bevo at some point as well. So it's a bit hard to do sometimes. Awesome stuff. Alrighty, guys. Well, the comments have slowed down. I need to go do some real life commitments, looking after the dog, do all that sort of stuff. But there is a chance that once I'm all done with that around 10 o'clock, I might just jump back on just for a yarnder, just for a chat. So if you are still here, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on my first solo stream. If you haven't liked and subscribed, definitely do so, and definitely check in around 10 if I happen to be back on and come say hi. There'll be a confirmed trade video coming most likely tomorrow or Thursday. But as always, follow me on X if you want real updates as well. Otherwise, guys, I will get to your comments later if you have anything on. But yeah, I will probably be on around 10 again to continue the conversation. We'll see you guys soon.